Hello, little explorers, and welcome back to the warm glow of the Katha Lantern. I'm your host, Rutu. On this journey, I have a special lantern letter to read from a little explorer named Liam. Liam writes, Dear Rutu, at school today, everyone was playing tag on the playground. I ran up and asked if I could join. But the biggest kid in the group looked at me and said, No, we already have enough people. And they all just ran off without me. I stood there by myself, feeling completely heartbroken and invisible. Why do some people think it is okay to leave others out? Oh, Liam, being left out, especially by someone bigger who simply decides you do not belong, can make anyone feel invisible and sad. But here is exactly what I find truly magnificent about your letter. You asked the question, why? And that tells me your heart is full of quiet courage. And today, our Panchtantra tale has a very powerful answer for you. Because sometimes the ones who get left out turn out to be the most important ones of all. Let's open our giant book of Panchatantra tales and find out. Deep in a magnificent ancient forest, there lived the most enormous elephant you could ever imagine. His name was Mr. Elephant. Mr. Elephant was so gigantic that when he walked, the ground trembled. When he swung his trunk, whole branches snapped like toothpicks. And because he was the biggest creature in the entire forest, Mr. Elephant believed one thing with his whole heart, that big meant important and small meant absolutely worthless. Now, high up in a tall ancient banyan tree, at the edge of this forest, lived Mrs. Sparrow. Mrs. Sparrow had built the most wondrous little nest. It was woven from the soft grass, tiny twigs, and delicate threads, tucked safely between two strong branches. And nestled inside that nest were three tiny, precious little eggs. Mrs. Sparrow had been keeping them warm for weeks, waiting for the most magnificent moment, the day her babies would hatch. One terrible afternoon, Mr. Elephant came stomping through that part of the forest. He was in a furious, grumpy mood, knocking over trees and splashing through puddles, swinging his trunk at anything in his path. He did not look up. He did not look around. He simply did not care. With one enormous, careless swing of his trunk, Mr. Elephant struck the banyan tree. The nest tumbled down the branch and fell to the ground below. All the three eggs shattered. Mrs. Sparrow swooped down, her heart completely shattered alongside them. She looked up at Mr. Elephant with trembling wings, and she said with a devastated but fierce voice,
You destroyed my nest, my eggs. How could you be so careless?
Mr. Elephant barely glanced down. When he finally spotted the little brown bird standing before him, he let out a slow, rumbling laugh.
You are speaking to me? Go away, little speck. You are so small I almost cannot even see you. What could you possibly do to me?
Mrs. Sparrow was in grief, but in her fury she said,
You have taken something from me that can never be replaced. And I promise you, Mr. Elephant, size is not the same as power.
Mr. Elephant laughed again, a horrible, echoing laugh, and stomped away without another glance. Mrs. Sparrow stood alone in the wreckage of everything she had built, but she did not crumble. Instead, she flew straight to her dearest friends. First, she found Mr. Woodpecker, tapping away cheerfully at a tall oak tree. Mrs. Sparrow told him everything that happened, every little heartbreaking detail. Mr. Woodpecker stopped tapping. He looked at his friend with kind, steady eyes and he said,
Mrs. Sparrow, your pain is my pain. Please tell me what you need and I will be there.
Then Mrs. Sparrow flew to the forest pond, where Miss Frog was sitting on her favorite lily pad, soaking up the afternoon sun. She mentioned the whole story again to Miss Frog. Miss Frog listened intently, her big round eyes growing wider with every word. Then she puffed up her cheeks and said,
Oh, that grumpy, boastful Mr. Elephant. Nobody gets to treat my friend that way. I am absolutely in.
Together, the three friends, Mrs. Sparrow, Mr. Woodpecker, and Miss Frog, put their heads together and made a clever plan. This plan was quiet, clever, and absolutely brilliant. The very next afternoon, as Mr. Elephant walked toward his favorite watering hole, Mr. Woodpecker swooped down and began pecking right beside Mr. Elephant's enormous ear. In the most rapid, relentless rhythm. In the most rapid, relentless rhythm, Mr. Elephant shook his head furiously. He even flapped his ears. But Mr. Woodpecker was too quick, darting away and returning again and again. The tapping was driving Mr. Elephant absolutely mad. His eyes began to water. He squeezed them tightly shut in irritation. And in that exact moment, Miss Frog hopped silently away from the watering hole and hid behind a rock on the other side of the path. When Mr. Elephant finally opened his blurry, outraged eyes, all he could hear was Miss Frog's loud, cheerful croaking, echoing deep inside a muddy ditch far away. Mr. Elephant, completely disoriented and desperately thirsty, followed the sound. Further and further he stumbled, away from the watering hole, until his enormous feet sank deep into the thick, sticky mud of the ditch. He was stuck, completely and utterly stuck. The more he struggled, the deeper he sank. Mr. Elephant thrashed and trumpeted, but it was of no use at all.
Help! Somebody help me! I am stuck, I cannot move.
The elephant said desperately. Panicked Mr. Elephant said desperately. His booming voice echoed through the entire forest. But the forest was very, very quiet. Nobody came. After a while, Mrs. Sparrow landed on a branch directly in front of his eyes. She looked at him calmly, her tiny chest proud and still. The exhausted Mr. Elephant said with a humble voice,
Please, please help me.
That's when Mrs. Sparrow said quietly with great dignity,
Do you remember what you said to me? That I was too small to matter. that there was nothing I could possibly do to you.
Mr. Elephant said nothing. He realized his mistake. But his eyes, for the very first time, were full of something new. Shame. Mrs. Sparrow said firmly.
Every creature in this forest matters, Mr. Elephant. Every single one. Now, will you promise to remember that?
Mr. Elephant said genuinely.
I promise. I am truly sorry, Mrs. Sparrow.
She nodded to her friends. Mr. Woodpecker called the other forest friends, and together, with great teamwork, they helped pull Mr. Elephant free from the mud. Miss Frog led the way back to the solid ground, hopping cheerfully ahead. When Mr. Elephant finally stood on the steady earth, he looked down at the three small creatures who had outsmarted him: a tiny sparrow, a woodpecker, and a frog. And he understood something that his enormous size had never taught him. Being bad had never made him powerful. Kindness, friendship, and standing up for one another, that was the real friendship force. And there it is, little explorer. Mrs. Sparrow did not have an enormous tusk. She did not have a thundering trunk or a giant stomping feet. But she had something far more powerful than any of that. She had true, loyal friends who stood beside her when it mattered the most. And that is the real friendship force. Liam, this one is for you. The next time someone bigger tries to feel you invisible or too small to matter, remember Mrs. Sparrow. She was the smallest creature in the forest, and she was also the bravest. The ones who leave you out, they are missing out on something truly magnificent. You. Now, little explorers, it is time for our favorite part, the Katha canvas. Grab your magical canvas and your brightest colors. For our gallery this time, you have two magnificent drawing or coloring options. You could draw a big grumpy Mr. Elephant stomping through the forest. Or you could draw the tiny but completely fearless Mrs. Sparrow standing proud. Parents, please snap a picture of your child's masterpieces and please include your child's name on it. Send it to us via DM on Instagram at the Katha Lantern. We would be absolutely thrilled to add it to our glowing Katha Canvas Highlights gallery. If your little explorers loved today's adventure, please hit the plus sign on Apple Podcast or tap the follow button and bell icon on Spotify and YouTube. Liking the show or leaving a quick review is the absolute best way to help other families find our magical podcast of stories. Until next time, I'm your host, Rutu. Stay curious as you grow and let your imaginations glow.